Hello everyone. Have you ever seen how the hens are crammed in a little cage? Especially these days, we can understand what confinement or imprisonment means. It restricts us and limits us, not only the physical movement but also our thoughts to a certain extent. This is what humans have done to animals, caged them for our own pleasure. So let us widen our language horizon and explore another poem. The name of the poem is A Tiger in the Zoo, which is written by Leslie Norris. So let us read the beautiful work of Leslie Norris, where he is describing the pitiable condition of the animals in confined spaces. This poem contrasts a tiger when it is in the natural habitat and when it is in the zoo, or you can say imprisoned in the zoo. So the poem is written by Leslie Norris, and he explains here the agony and the helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet explains what his life could be if he had been a free animal. We are talking here about the tiger. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. So this is the poem you can see on your screen. Let's read the poem. He stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water holes where plump deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. But he is locked in the concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So dear kids, in all, this poem is having 5 stanzas and 4 lines each. So total lines, you can say we have to study 20 lines in this poem. When we talk about the rhyming scheme of the poem, let's check it is abcb. So how it is that? First is strips, so we gave it A. Cage is not matching with strips, so it is what? B. Quiet and strips, that is what? Not matching, because quiet strips, okay, so this is not matching with strips, not matching with cage, so this is what? C. And rage, rage is matching with cage, so this is what? B. So in the rhyming scheme here is A, B, C, B, okay, of this poem. This poem has 2 distinct settings, as I have told you. This is a contrast between a tiger when it is in natural habitat and when it is in zoo. Here you can see the tiger in the zoo, and here this tiger is in his natural habitat, that is jungle. First stanza, he stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his rage. So dear students, here in this first stanza, the poet describes the appearance of the tiger in the zoo and its daily movement. He says that the tiger moves up and down in his cage. Okay, the strips on his body can be distinguished even seen far, as they are darker in color. So what is this? That is vivid strips. Okay, you can clearly see that there is a tiger in the cage. Okay, and the few steps of his cage means he just walked there in the cage only, up and down, on the pads of velvet quiet. The tiger walks quietly without making a sound because of his smooth velvet pads. So that also you can see here in the picture, the smooth velvet pads of the tiger. right? So without making a sound, he walks smoothly in his cage. And the tiger is able to walk only few steps in the cage because the length of the cage is, the very small that is. It covers the distance in a few mere steps only. And the tiger is full of anger. Rage means what? Anger. So the tiger is full of anger, but it is suppressed because he knows that he is helpless here. So in the first stanza, the poet is describing the helplessness of the tiger who has been locked in the cage of the zoo. Let's talk about the literary devices of this first stanza, and for that just read the stanza once again. He stalks in his vivid strips, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. So here his vivid strips. Here what have done that this tiger has been given, we are not using it here, okay. Actually it should be used here, but the poet has used he for tiger. He, his, again his cage, his quiet rage. So this is what? Personification, because we are just giving him this tiger as the human qualities, okay. So we are calling actually because he with the word he instead of it. So there, that's why this is what? This is personification. So this is the first poetic device used in this stanza. When we talk about second poetic device used here, you must have seen the velvet quiet, the pads of velvet quiet. So this is what? It is a direct comparison of the feet of the tiger with velvet. Velvet is too soft actually, right? So it is what? It is the metaphor, because here the comparison is being done in velvet and in the claws of tiger. Clear? And we are not using here words as and like, that's why it is what? Metaphor. Let's talk about the next one, next poetic device. Here you can see that is enjambment. So let's understand how. He stalks in his vivid strips. Here this line is finishing without any punctuation mark and the few steps of his cage. So here in this first and second line we can see enjambment, right? Because the next line is starting without any punctuation mark and the next line has been started with the capital letter. Moreover, if you want to get the proper meaning of this, so he stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage. So in these two lines the line is getting completed. So that is why it is what? Enjambment here in first and second line. Next poetic device you can see here in this in this stanza number 1, he stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage on the pads of the velvet quiet in his quiet rage. So here you can imagine, here you can visualize the situation of the tiger, right? That comes in front of your eyes, that scene comes in front of your eyes. So it is what? It is imagery in this complete stanza, okay? Where you can imagine, where you can visualize, you can see the situation, that how it is walking in the cage. So that is why it is what? It is imagery. Next poetic device in the same stanza is consonance. And consonance, why? Because see, S, 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 S and S. So this S sound is being repeated here. So it is what? Consonance is what? When the consonant sounds and consonant letters are used within the words, right? It is not like alliteration. In alliteration it is restricted to the first letter only, but consonance is what? When this consonant letters are used within the words. So here we can see use of S, 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 S and S in the same line. So this is what? This is the occurrence of consonants here. Next, assonance is also there in this first line itself. And what is assonance? When we talk about assonance, we have noticed I, okay. Here the repetition of I sound, that is what? That's a vowel. So when there is vowel sound within the word, the repetition of vowel sound within the word of the same line or closely written words, so that is known as what? That is known as assonance. So here in this first line, I, that is being repeated, it is why it is assonance, right? So next poetic device used here is oxymoron. Oxymoron is what? The opposite ideas, okay, opposite adjectives. So here it is what? You can see here, please take care that opposite words are not used, okay, opposite ideas. Like if we'll talk about rage, rage is what? Anger. So anger cannot be quiet, okay, cannot be shown quiet. The opposite ideas are here. So this is what? Quiet rage is what used as oxymoron here. Next, let's read second stanza of the poem. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. So here in this stanza, in the second stanza, we can read that he should be lurking in shadow. Lurking means hiding. What is the meaning of lurking? That means hiding in the shadow, sliding through the long grass. Here in the picture you can see the long grass is there, and the tiger can hide in this long grass near the water hole. Near the water hole where plump deer pass. Plump means the healthy one, right? So here what the poet is saying, this again he is filling with pity, and he is again looking at that imprisoned tiger in the zoo, and that's there he is imagining the another life for the tiger, right? That other than the zoo, he should be there in the jungle, and he says that the poor tiger should have been in his natural habitat, that is in the wild forest, and he says that under the normal conditions the tiger would have been moving in the darkness, not in the clear daylights, and he should be lurking in shadow. You can say it can be hiding in the long grass and in the shadow of the long grass, and it would have been lying in the shadows of the trees also, of the long grasses also, and so that why he should be hiding in the shadow of the long grass, because there it can be or he can be able to get its prey, right? In this way the tiger would have managed near the water hole. Now when we talk about the water hole only, so in the sunny afternoons, actually near the water holes, he would be waiting for some of the fat deers to pass that way, okay, because when the deer will come to drink water, so the tiger would be waiting for some of the deer to pass that way, and thus he would be lying there in expectation of a heavy feast. Plump deer means the thin one, the thick one, you can say, the fat one, you can say here, right? So this is what given here in the second stanza. He should be lurking. Now literary devices in this: he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass near the water holes where plump deer pass. So let's check. The first one is enjambment. Okay, so here you can see in line number 2, 3 and 4. Okay, here it is, you can see sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. So first line is having the punctuation mark, so here enjambment will not take place. Sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Okay, once again I am telling you, first line to second and second to third, okay, without any punctuation mark. Next line is getting started with the capital letter, and moreover to check the complete meaning we have to go in the next lines. So that is what occurrence of enjambment. He should be lurking in the shadow. Again in the same stanza, sliding through the long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. So here you can see what? Alliteration. Alliteration is what? The repetition of the sound of consonants in the starting of the closely written words. So here it is P and here also it is P. Okay, alliteration is in the starting of the same consonant sound in the starting of the words, whereas consonance is what? Consonance is the repetition of these consonant letters within the words, right? So this difference you have to look for, and if you have forgot to watch the video where poetic devices are explained, please go for that video and see. Next one is here in the same stanza we can create imagery also, where we will say, where the poet is saying that he should be lurking in shadow. Okay, he should be hiding in the shadow or a shadow of the long grass or under the trees somewhere. So here we are visualizing that, okay, that image. So this is what? Imagery. In next line, the next is the stanza, third one. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. He should be snarling around at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. Here it is fangs, okay, this is fangs. So he should be snarling around the houses at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. So in this stanza, the poet says that even though he would prefer the tiger to live in the wild, right? So it is not as if it would lose all the touch of human civilization, and he imagines that what the tiger do in the case he failed to find any prey in his natural habitat. He says that the tiger would be growling, okay, snarling around. He could be growling, that is the roaring of the tiger. He should be growling at the edge of the jungle near some village, okay, on the edge of the jungle means that should be in the edge of the jungle, the village which is situated at the edge of the jungle. He would be showing his white fangs and claws like this, okay, he would be showing his white fangs and claws. So fangs means what? Teeth, and claws is what? Claws is the toes which is having big nails, you know. So that is, he says that the tiger would be growling at the edge of jungle near some village, and he would be showing his white fangs and claws while moving here and there with the intention of scaring all the inhabitants of that village, right? If the tiger will be there, so all the inhabitants will be scared of that. So he would thus become a cause of terror for the villagers, you can say. And the poet here gives a hint that if we destroy the natural habitat of tigers, they will be forced to turn to our towns and the villages to find the food. Okay, here he is giving us warning also that if we will destroy the jungles, so the animals, the wild animals, they would come to they will be forced to come to our towns. Okay, so this was written here in this third stanza. Let's talk about the literary devices of this third stanza. First poetic device you can see here, that is what? Enjambment. So once again you can see in line number first and second there is occurrence of enjambment, because first line is getting ending with without any punctuation mark here, and the next one is starting with the capital letter. So this is what? Enjambment. Next one is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia means what? The sound. Okay, sound of something, sound created by something. So here we are using this word snarling for roaring of the tiger. So that is why this is what? This is onomatopoeia. Next poetic device here is he should be snarling around the houses. So here is assonance in the first line also, and in third line bearing his white fangs. So let's see how. Here you can check sound of O and O. Okay, O sound is being repeated here. So this is what? Occurrence of assonance, because this O is within the word. Wearing his white fangs, his claws. Here I sound is being repeated. So this is once again vowel sound, A, E, I, O, U. So this is what? Assonance. Next, and the last next stanza, fourth, I think so. But he is locked in the concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of cage, ignoring visitors. So this concrete cell means which is made up of stones, bricks and cement, etc. Now he is locked in concrete cell. Who is he here? The tiger. His strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage. Stalking means walking the length of his cage, ignoring the visitors. So here in this stanza, the poet stops imagining the tiger's alternate life and returns to its real life, where it is now. It is in zoo, right? So that is the original life he is saying, because he has been locked in the zoo, and the poet sees the tiger caged once again in the small concrete cell and in the zoo like a prisoner in a jail. So in spite of all his strength, it now lies imprisoned behind the walls. The tiger pays no attention to the visitors. Okay, they are giving stalking the length of the cage, ignoring visitor. So here in this line it is clear that in spite of all his strength, he is that is very proud animal, and it is now lies imprisoned behind the walls. So the tiger pays no attention to the visitors who come to see him every day at the zoo. Instead of this, the tiger is very slow and silent, right? He moves up and down. Stalking at the length of his cage means he moves only up and down his cage, and without any disturbance in the form of human interference, right? So he is not taking any interest to the visitors who are coming there to see the caged tiger. So let's see the poetic devices here in this third stanza. But he is locked in the concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring the visitors. So this is what? First one is once again personification, right? So why? You can see he is locked, his strength is there, his cage is there. So here what? Animals and human beings. Okay, so persons are when we just write down for persons, so this is personal pronoun moreover. So here we have to use he instead of using it. The poet is using he here, means the human qualities he is giving here. So that is why it is what? Personification in all three words. Okay, next one is, but he is locked in the concrete cell. So here you can see assonance. So what is that? Assonance, use of vowel sound within the words. So here you can see he, e, locked e, concrete e and cell e. Okay, so this e is being repeated here, this and this. So this is what? Occurrence of assonance. And that is within the words. I am repeating once again, do not match this with the alliteration. This is vowel sound and this is occurrence of assonance. Okay. Next one is consonance. So consonance is what? Consonance is what? It is the sound of consonants. So here in this line, second line, his strength behind bars. So here again S and S. This is being repeated. The sound S is being repeated within the words. So this is what? Consonance here. Next is alliteration. So lastly we got this word with this poetic device, alliteration, and it is what? It is the repetition of B. Okay, so when the repetition of consonant letters are there in the starting of the words, closely written words, so that is what? That is alliteration. So here B sound is being repeated in the starting of behind and bars. So this is what? Alliteration. Next and the last stanza of the poem. So let's see what is there in this last stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So here in this last stanza, the poet describes about the daily routine of the tiger, that what does he do in the cage. So the tiger does not rest during the day because of the visitors. They keep on disturbing it, they keep on disturbing him. Even at night it stays awake till the very last voice of the zookeeper or the locking up of up and going home can be heard. Okay, and after that too, it does not go to sleep all night, and it remains disturbed due to the noise of the patrolling cars, because police keep on patrolling in the town. So he keeps staring at the brilliant stars also. He keeps staring at the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes. Brilliant means shiny eyes. Perhaps he is asking the heaven that why he has been imprisoned there, because he wanted to go in the jungle. He wanted to live with his family. So that's why he is gazing, he is looking at the stars and asking the heaven that what is the reason of his imprisonment here. So we have read here, dear students, that the poem is that just like humans, animals too long for freedom, and they do not like being caged. For instance, the tiger is in the poem, longs to be in the jungle, and he looks longingly at the shining star in the sky. By looking at the stars, the tiger hopes to be with nature some day. So when we talk about the poetic devices of this last stanza, he hears the last voice, but at night the patrolling cars, and stares with the brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So here you can notice the occurrence of enjambment in the last two lines, because the third line is getting you can say getting ended without the punctuation mark. So here it is occurrence of enjambment. In the next lines, it is he hears the last voice of the night at the patrolling cars, and stare with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So here it is what? Here it is alliteration once again. And what is the alliteration? He hears the last voice at night. So he and hears, okay, H sound is being written here, so that is what? Alliteration, he and hears. Next one is assonance. He hears the last voice at the night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So here you can see in this third line the use of I, with his brilliant. So here it is what? You can underline with his brilliant. So this is I and I. Okay. So this is what? Assonance. So dear students, that's all for today. Have a productive day ahead.